Hello and welcome to this month's subscription tasting video where I'm tasting all the coffees that we're sending out to all our coffee subscribers at the first Wednesday of November. Normally we select 3 different coffees to send out on the first Wednesday of the month to all our coffee subscribers around the world. We ship to Norway, to Australia, to the US, everywhere. These are quite special coffees, so some of them at least are exclusive for our subscribers, and some of them are coffees that we have in our web shop as well. So if you want to subscribe, you can sign up to our subscription on our website. You can pause it or cancel it at any time you want, and you can subscribe to up to 6 bags per month. Cool. Now this month we have selected a lot of different coffees, as you can see, and I'm going to do a cup tasting because there's so many different coffees. And the reason why we are selecting so many coffees is that we have done kind of a fall cleaning in our warehouse, because over the year we have bought a lot of tiny small lots from different producers. Some of them are so small that it's maybe 1 or 2 batches, so it's a little bit tedious to start doing all the marketing and putting all the information on the website for just 2 batches of coffee. It can also be some leftovers from previous subscription shipments, but in general, these are coffees that will mainly go out to our subscribers. So I hope you enjoy them. Of course, we're not going to send all of them to all the subscribers, so that means if you're subscribing to 3 bags or more, you will get one of these rare, tiny lots that we have selected. Cool, I figured we could start tasting straight away because this is a cup tasting. Although the coffees are quite hot, I'm going to show you how to do this in a COVID-19 friendly manner. Because cup tasting is, for many people today at least, it's very strange, because normally we would be 1 or more people taking a spoon of our own, and then we'd take a spoonful of coffee like this. We taste and then we spit out. The problem is that many people will use their own spoon and dip in the same cup, so not a very pandemic-friendly way to cup taste. Now the coffee industry has kind of solved this by using a cup instead. So instead of taking the spoon to your mouth, you take the cup to your mouth. So that means you can also start cupping when the coffees are a little bit hotter, because you're going to cool down the liquid a little bit in your cup. Cool. So how to cup with a cup in your hand and a spoon in the other hand? Well, you normally would take coffee with your spoon, put it into your cup, maybe swirl it a little bit when it's too hot. You slurp, you taste, and if you want to, you can spit, and if you don't have to, you can also swallow. Just for me, I'm going to cup a lot today, so that's going to be a lot of caffeine if I start swallowing every single sip. But sometimes it's hard to control. Okay, let's start with the first coffee that we're sending out to all the people who subscribe to our coffee. So that's the kind of first bag we send out. And this is actually going to be one of our Christmas edition coffees. I normally don't like to call a coffee a Christmas coffee because, what is Christmas coffee? It can be anything. It's not like when you have beer, for instance. Normally a Christmas beer would be a little bit darker roast or something like that. In coffee, there are basically no rules, so any coffee could be a Christmas coffee. So we call it like a Christmas edition. And this year we have selected a coffee. We have actually selected 2, but the one we're going to send out this month is a coffee from Ethiopia, and it's a washed coffee, and it's from a farm called Echemo, and the farmer's name is Caballero Java. I visited this farm 2 times in the last 3 or 4 years, of course not last year. And this farm is spectacular, I have to say. Khalid, he inherited his farm from, I think, his grandfather. And the trees were planted by his grandfather. And they have basically just let them grow. And they got the seeds from the nearby forest called Koche. And they took some seeds from there, planted in their own farm. And the trees have been growing ever since. So when you visit the farm, you don't go kind of among coffee trees, you go below coffee trees. And that's quite spectacular. So they haven't pruned the trees, they haven't cut them down or anything. And it's fully organic coffee. And last year, or 2 years ago now, Khalid built a wet mill on his farm because he was normally only producing honey process and naturals. And to be honest, those coffees didn't really blow me away, but I was kind of falling in love with the way his farm was and the way he took care of his farm. So I wanted to kind of purchase this coffee just to see if we could enhance the quality or improve the quality with different processes. Khalid, he invested in a wet mill on his farm, and I have to say that his washed coffees are much more interesting than the natural and honey. And you know, it's not very often that I say that. Normally, if you process with a natural honey process, you add a little bit of fruit flavor. So if the coffee is, you know, in general a little boring, you can kind of add some interesting flavors by fermenting the coffee with or without mucilage and fruit skin. In this case, the coffee is actually more floral and more fruity after he started washing the coffee. So that's a good thing. And so, of course, it's much cleaner as well. So the first coffee, let's see. Yeah, you can definitely taste that it's from Ethiopia. It's got a lot of this kind of stone fruit, floral, bergamot flavor. It's not as intense as maybe the coffees you're used to from Gachatha or Sidamo or Guji. This is in a different area. It's close to Agaro, the town. You have to kind of fly to Jima and then drive from there. But it's a really interesting coffee, I think. It's got a bit of stone fruit florality, a little bit of bergamot, a little bit of spice, and maybe some honey flavor. Really, really nice coffee. It has acidity, yes, but it's more like tingling a little bit. It's not so intense as maybe a Kenyan coffee. And it has a lot of this fruit flavor and a lot of sweetness. So for me, it's quite a complex coffee. Still quite refreshing and juicy. And yeah, just a lovely Ethiopian coffee. And the reason why we kind of chose this for our Christmas edition is because, you know, during Christmas you eat a lot of heavy food, a lot of fatty food, a lot of, you know, pumpkin and cake and stuff like that. It's nice to have something refreshing to drink. And that's why we chose this Ethiopian coffee from the farm Echemo. Delicious. The second coffee we're sending out, so if you subscribe to 2 bags or more, you will get 1 bag of the first one and then a bag of the second one. This is also from Ethiopia, and we sent this out, I think, a few months ago, but it was a different variety. So this is a natural processed coffee from the farm Tatmara, which is, you know, not far away from Echemo, but it's still a long drive, and it's located near Bonga in Kaffa, and it's grown by a gentleman called Nacimiento inside a forest. It's in a native forest. It's a beautiful, beautiful farm, also organic, but it's not certified. But Nacimiento doesn't put any fertilizer or chemical or pesticides on his trees. The only thing he does is to do manual weeding. This coffee is a natural process, so dry the whole cherry instead of removing the skin and pulp and then drying only the seeds like in the first one. And that means you will get a little bit of ferment flavor. But I think this one is super, super clean. And if you enjoyed the last one we sent out, this for me is a little bit cleaner and tidier, I would say. The variety is 74110, which indicates the year it was released and from where it's from. It's from the Jima Agricultural Research Center. And it's kind of an improved variety, but it's actually just a selection of varieties that they have done back in the 70s. I'm gonna change to the spoon because the temperature is going down now. This coffee is similar to the 74112 that we sent out a few months ago, but it's a little bit cleaner and a little bit tighter in the acidity. I would say it's a little bit more towards citric. It's got strawberry flavor, of course, stone fruit, but a lot of fruit, I have to say, because it's a natural. Its finish is quite clean. It feels like juice, you know, fruit juice, but it's coffee. And that fruit flavor comes from yeasts that are kind of working on the mucilage when the coffee is drying. So you get this kind of more towards pineapple, strawberry, these kind of fruit flavors. Whereas the first one is a bit kind of different type of fruit flavor. It's much more kind of structured and firm in the acidity, I would say. And it also feels like the aftertaste is kind of a little bit cleaner. Whereas the natural from Tatmara, it's really fruity up front. And also in the finish, you kind of sit and have this kind of lingering kind of strawberry flavor. Sometimes it reminds me of these kind of candies that's strawberry and cream. It's kind of pink and white at the same time. It kind of tastes a little bit like that for me. Cool, so 2 Ethiopian coffees, you know, why not? It's winter here in Norway now, but you know, why not drink something refreshing during winter as well? Let's get on to the third bag that we're going to send out, because we are going to send out many different coffees to different subscribers. So that means if you're subscribed to 3 bags or more, you will get one of these coffees. You won't get all of them, because that would be a logistical nightmare, and we don't have enough of these coffees to do that. So we're just sending out randomly different coffees to different subscribers. Now, most of these are from Central America, but there's one from Kenya as well. But let's start with the first one. It's from a farm that you might know if you have subscribed to our coffee for a while. It's from a farm called Nacimiento in Santa Barbara Mountain in Honduras. It's north in Honduras. Normally we would send out a Bourbon, a Pacas, or SL28 that we have planted there. But this time you're getting something for the first time. And this is a Pacamara variety grown by Hobnil, because he bought some new land not far away from his original farm, where he has planted Pacamara variety. Pacamara variety is a mix of Pacas that he already has on his farm and Maragogipe. Of course, it's not kind of a blend, it's a tree that they were crossed and then the kids became Pacamara. And this tree gives quite large beans. This is the first picking of this coffee, so the beans aren't that large yet. It's not like if we wait a little bit longer, the beans would be bigger. It's just the trees are very young, so they're not in full production yet. But we managed to get a few bags of this. It was actually 90 kilos altogether. And we have done 1 test row, so that means we have 60 kilos left to send out to our subscribers. I find this coffee to taste a lot like Pacamara. It has this kind of fruity character. It reminds me of orange peel, sometimes ginger, you know, the kind of pickled ginger you get in sushi. You have this kind of aromatics in the background, and then a lot of kind of dark chocolate, orange, maybe some tropical fruit there. It's a bit hard to define sometimes, but some people say papaya, orange, these kind of things. For me, it reminds me of when I eat dark chocolate that's kind of flavored with candied orange. Really nice. And it has a little bit of that ginger touch. Of course, if a Pacamara is roasted a little bit too dark, you can get this kind of oniony flavor. I think that's very much related to roast, and sometimes also there are different types of Pacamara plants. But this one, for me, at least tastes really, really nice. So, first time ever, Pacamara from Nacimiento in Honduras. The second coffee we're sending out to our 3-bag subscribers is tasting really nice now. We sent this out a little bit earlier this summer. It's a Java variety from the Caballero family. I think it has benefited from a little bit of rest, because now the coffee is still having that kind of oolong tea, white chocolate, but it's also a little bit floral and a little bit fruity. So this is quite a characteristic coffee, and some people really love it. We had 30 kilos left of it, so we wanted to send it out to our subscribers. I think this coffee is really, really nice. Full-bodied, very textured, has this kind of white chocolate, green tea, candy flavor that you can buy in Japan, but it's also a little fruity and floral on top of that. Now the third coffee we have chosen to send out to our 3-bag subscribers is an SL28 from the Caballero family in Honduras. So that means the same farm as the Java, but a different variety. I know we've sent this out before as well, but it's really, really nice now. Quite fruity. Maybe a little bit of milk chocolate, kind of apples, red apples, but it has this kind of subtle red berry flavor as well that I really enjoy. And it's quite refreshing and juicy now. I think when we sent it out last time, they were maybe a little too fresh, or a little tight. They haven't kind of opened up a little bit in the flavor. So sometimes that happens with the green coffee, that when they're really fresh, they're not as open and kind of transparent. They have this kind of herbal thing to it. Whereas here, I don't really get too much herbalness anymore. It's just a really nice fruity coffee now. Cool. Now the fourth coffee is also from the Caballero family, but we haven't sent this out before. We only have 60 kilos of it, and it's an Ethiopian variety. We don't really know what Ethiopian variety it is, but Moises just calls it Ethiopia, which is Ethiopian. And this is really, really nice. It doesn't really taste like that Ethiopian coffee we had on the first air, but it still has a little bit of that stone fruit, maybe a little bit of rhubarb flavor. It's a little bit floral, but very, very subtle. But one thing that this one and the SL28 have in common, they're very, very juicy. And kind of mouth-watering and refreshing to drink. Really nice coffees, quite delicate. So I think to get the most out of these coffees, take out your AeroPress and follow our recipe. You'll get much more of that kind of fruity, juicy character. I just find that with the shorter times on the extraction, even though we extract a lot, you get this kind of more intensity in that fruit section. Cool, now to another exciting variety, which is the first time we actually have. It's from Los Pirineos, so the farm in El Salvador. We used to buy from Gilberto Barona, who passed away last year, but now his kids took over the farm. They're doing a fantastic job. And for the first time, I waited so long for these new varieties that Gilberto planted a long time ago. But for the first time, we managed to buy, I think, 90 kilo as well, or was it 69 kilos? One bag was 69 kilos of Ethiopian variety that he calls Harar. Gilberto inherited a variety garden or took over a variety garden that Procafé had in El Salvador. Procafé used to do breeding and research on different varieties. And he took over the kind of research garden they had, and this is one of the varieties that they had. It's a honey process, so you can expect it to be a little fruitier than the other coffees. Kind of similar to the Tatmara, I guess. A little bit more subtle on the ferment fruit. But it tastes like, strawberry, lime, maybe a little bit of pineapple. Really, really nice and fruity coffee. High acidity. Which is quite rare for El Salvadoran coffee, I would say. Yeah, tropical fruits. Really, really nice coffee. So Ethiopian Harar from Los Pirineos in El Salvador. Really exciting to have that. And then the last coffee. Some of you had this as a favorite earlier this summer, and this is the Gachatha PB that we sent out with our Kenyan coffees. I think it was in August. We have 30 kilos left. It's, a shame to waste it. So I think, sending it out to our subscribers is a good idea. It's so clean, so fruity, so intense, blackcurrant, rose hips, all these kind of red flavors that you get in Kenyan coffees. And just so nicely structured and refreshing. It's always nice to drink Kenyan coffee. Cool. Which is my favorite? Well, let's see. I think the Ethiopian Echemo is fantastic. It's really, really nice as it cools down. So you make sure you taste this when it's cooling down a little bit. Tatmara as well is a really nice example of a clean, or what I call a clean fermented coffee. But I think to pick one favorite just to do it, it's hard to do it. I think the kind of more interesting coffees are the varieties for me, because I drink a lot of these coffees that we normally buy from these places. So to have new flavors from the farms that we normally buy from is a really good thing. So I guess no favorite this time. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Next month we'll have some exciting coffees as well, because it's December and just because we deserve it. So hope you will watch that video as well. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye.